So if you're just tuning in right now, go ahead and start commenting so I can see that I'm actually live and I'm not just talking to myself. That would be great. I'll be answering a bunch of questions today. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot a message in the comments, and I can answer yours as well if we get to them. And I'm going to be starting off with a list that I already have. But first, I want to make sure that I've got some people actually watching so far. So, like I said, if you're tuning in right now, go ahead and put a comment in the comment in the comment section, so that way I can see that I'm not talking to myself. All right. Let's see. It says that we're getting some people are just tuning in now. As you're tuning in, go ahead and ask any questions that you want me to go and cover today. I'm going to be doing basically questions that are centered around. Looks like a lot of these are based off first dates and dating, and building up some sexual tension between you and your partner. All right, we've got some people coming in and commenting in the board. Thanks, Keith. All right, so let's start off with the first question that I've got. First question is, should I ask a girl if I can kiss her on a date? All right, so this is a common question guys get all the time, or that I get all the time. And that's, is it okay to actually ask for a kiss, or is that something that you just have to go and make a move when you feel that moment is right? And it's kind of tricky because there's it's important to get consent with in terms of everything that you're doing with dating, and there are clever ways of going about it that aren't necessarily just straight up like, hey, do I have consent to kiss you right now? There's definitely much better ways of going about it. Hey, Carlos. All right, I'll see if I can get covering on the wordsmithing of sexual texting today. Sure. But yeah, so answering that question about the should you ask for a kiss on the first date? I've always found that if you're ever uncertain if you should be making a move or making that first kiss, it's best, instead of asking, it's best to just state your intent. State what you want to do. If you're feeling like, oh, this, there's a big connection right now, I'm feeling a lot of tension, you can say, hey, oh man, I really want to kiss you right now. And just pause for a second, see how she replies to that. She's got one of three options. I'm going to give you a little bit of if this, then that, thing that you can remember in order to, move forward in a smooth, collective way where you're not just saying, hey, do I have consent to kiss you right now? So, one, she says, yeah, me too. Right. In that case, it's on. Go ahead and go for the kiss. If she's like, ooh, I don't know if I'm ready for that yet. No rush. That's okay. We've got all the time in the world. I just wanted to make sure that you didn't think I didn't want to kiss you, So that would be the, if she says no. And if she says, I don't know how I feel about that, right? Then you can ask her, well, do you want to find out? Right. So those are the different options. Now, there's one more case. She doesn't say anything at all. Right. I've had that question. Well, what happens if she says nothing at all? If you say, man, I really want to kiss you right now, and she just completely ignores you or something, she's probably not ignoring you. She's probably just didn't hear you. So I'd recommend you just asking, hey, so how do you feel about that? Just following up with so how do you feel about that? And that's definitely going to get a response. If that doesn't get a response, then, hey, just want to make sure that you heard me. Did you hear what I said? Check it again, because I don't know, maybe she's hard of hearing or something. You don't know. You definitely want to be making sure that you're getting that a solid answer. So don't just give up if she didn't hear you. So basically it's hey, I really want to kiss you right now, and then following up with how do you feel about that? And again, it's one of three things going to happen. She's either going to say yeah, I feel the same way, or she's going to say I'm not really feeling that right now, or she's going to say I don't know how I feel about that. And I've given you those three answers on how to deal with those. All right. Next question is, hey, Andrej. Hey, Andrej. All right. Next question is how to. Oh, let's see. Okay. The second question is, should a kiss on the first date always lead to sex? That answer is no. It's not going to always lead to sex. Even if things are going really, really great. It's not always going to lead to sex. And that's something that you just have to remember. Just because she said yes to a kiss doesn't mean she's saying yes to having sex with you. And so, just kind of take things, slow and steady. It's definitely not a race. You're definitely not trying to cut as many steps as you can, because, that can definitely end up, not working out in your favor. In fact, having some pretty negative repercussions. So I recommend, if you do get that kiss, it doesn't necessarily mean that she wants to have sex with you. And yeah, move on to the next question. All right, next question is how to build sexual tension on a first date. All right, now, so this is kind of fun. I've got if you're ever pause and you're like, hey, you know what? I don't know exactly how to move things forward and build up sexual tension between us. I feel like we're getting along. I feel like we've got a lot of trust between us, but there's just, the sparks aren't flying yet. And I don't know how to just test to see if they will. I've always found that the best way of going about doing this is actually playing some sort of game where there's set rules in place that will kind of lead towards things going in that direction. And basically, in order to build up that sexual tension, it really just comes down to, number one, talking about dating and relationships. A lot of people want to steer away from those questions, but when you're on a date, those are the questions that are important. What do you look for in a partner, right? So asking those types of questions. What is your type, right? Who is trying to get good questions about movie stars. Hey, if you were ever to get married, who would be on your doesn't count as cheating list? Your celebrity list that's hey, if I got, in the best case scenario, all the stars align and I had an opportunity to, sleep with X, Y, or Z, these people wouldn't count as cheating. I'm definitely allowed to do it. It's not cheating against you. It's just it's those people. And, I've always had a crush on those people my whole life, so who would be on that list, right? So asking those types of questions is just a great way to just start building those sparks and, starting to create those, that feeling of hey, this is leading towards a relationship, or this is leading towards talking about, sex, and talking about bringing up that energy, that sexual, romantic, that coupley energy. So some games that go about building that around. The best one that I can think of right now is the question game. For the question game, there's 3 rules, and you can start it off hey, I've got a great idea to really get to know each other. It's a fun game to really get to know each other. You want to play it? And she's going to be like, okay, what's the game, right? And it's well, okay, it's the question game. It's what it's called. But it's not your typical question game. There's 3 rules. First rule is you have to tell the truth. It's not the lying game. It's the question game, right? Second rule is no skips. So this is why it gets kind of intense, right? It's an intense game. So if if that's the reason you don't want to play, I get it. But no skips. So if I ask you a question, you have to answer it. If you ask me a question, I have to answer it. I can't say, oh, I don't want to answer that, or skip, anything like that. And then the third rule of the question game is no repeat questions. Can't get lazy with it. If I ask you a question, you can't ask me the same question I just asked you, and you can't get around it by trying to ask me something that's really, really close, but not exactly that same question. So just no repeat questions. Sound fair enough? And she's going to say yes or no, and from there you can go ahead and start the question game. And you can either start yourself, or you can have her ask the first question. It doesn't matter. But the strategy is your questions should be, building up slow, starting really, really slow and building up towards talking about those types of questions, talking about keeping the theme of your questions that you're personally asking. She can ask whatever she wants to, but you're personally going to be, asking your questions about relationships, or you're going to be talking about, your interests, or you're talking about sex, what is bad sex to you, right? That's a question that you can ask, question 5 of the question game or whatever. What is bad sex to you, right? And it can start off as simple as okay, so the story of your very first kiss, what is it, right? And so now they're telling you the story of your first kiss, and then to add into this, to make this game even better, is there's this, you can play this secondary game within it, right? And it's taking all of her answers, or all of your your answers, whatever, and playing the game ARR with it. And if you're not familiar with ARR, it's a game that's we definitely use a ton in the ACE formula, and you can go and check out. You can go check out on aceformula.com. You can get a free ACE formula guide where we kind of go through step by steps of all just the general overview of what our ACE formula is. Again, that you can find that at aceformula.com. But yeah, the ARR game. It's basically you take every single answer and now you evolve it by playing this internal game in your mind. You evolve it into a conversation, and so every question and answer turns into like a separate conversation. And so you're just building all these threads of conversation. So you're not like running out of things to say. And if you do run out of things to say, it's okay. You're playing the question game. Whose turn was it? Oh, it was your turn. Oh man, we just got distracted playing the, just talking about it. But what's your question, right? And so now now you've got this fun game that you can be playing during your first date, where you'll never run out of things to talk about, and it's just like a really smooth transition into talking about those things that build that sexual tension. All right, so that's how to build. That's an easy like band-aid on how to build sexual tension on a first date. All right, let's see. Next question we have here is: do some girls get more attracted to guys that don't flirt? See, this is kind of tricky. It's usually not that they're attracted to the guy because he's not flirting. It's usually a matter of that guy has attractive traits about him. And you can remember these traits. These are traits that you can, we've covered like there's an acronym that we use called PLACES, PLACES, that we use in the ACE formula. Again, I'm pretty sure, I'm not sure if you can find that in the free guide or not, but you can definitely go and check out and see if it's there. But I'll go through just a few of those things that what they could be, right? So number one, it could be just a matter of like pre-selection, right? Like, so this guy already has, maybe he's friends with a bunch of girls already. And so he's hanging out with girls all the time. And so any new girl that's introduced into the situation sees him hanging out with all these girls. And that does trigger oxytocin, right? So when she sees him and she's hanging out with all of these girls, it can trigger oxytocin in her. And there's theories on why that is, right? It could just be like, oh, he must be attractive if all these girls like him. It could be that, oh, all these girls feel safe with him, so that would just mean that he's a good person to feel safe around. I can let that guard down, right? So it could be any of those things, right? So it could be pre-selection. It could be a matter of just leadership. It could just be like he is a leader of a group. He's got, people like look up to him. People like, ask him for questions. People go to him for advice. People, want to know, hey, if we're all going to go do a thing, what does he want to do, right? So, so it could just be a matter of leadership, right? And there's a handful of other things that it could be that would trigger like, these girls finding him more attractive. But it isn't just because he's not flirting. It's probably more just that he has these other attractive traits that women, appreciate. And again, that'd be, you can remember that from like the acronym PLACES. All right, Carlos, let's go ahead and answer. We've got the first question that came in through the comments today. The wordsmith on sexual texting. So generally, it's not advised that you should really trying to be sexually texting, to be honest, because if you're sexually texting, unless you're trying to like build up, like they're already going to be coming over and hanging out with you, or they're already going to be, like there's already like a sexual chemistry between you. Maybe you've already had sex. Maybe this is someone that you have, that you've already been on a few dates with, and you've already talked about sex. And so at that point, it's okay to like talk about sex via text. But in general, it's not advised to like just, oh man, we could be talking about sex right now, and so let's talk about sex via text. That's because it doesn't usually go where you want it to. Boo Bear. Oh, okay. Boo Bear. I'm not sure what that is, but heart you back. Yeah. So just in general, like if you're trying to be creative in your text and like maybe bring up some like sexual tension, perhaps, or maybe you want to like build up sexual tension, you don't want it to sound like you're trying to talk about sex and via text. If you've never talked about sex with them before, you don't want to try to initiate that via texting. And so ways that you can go about like building up sexual tension in texting without necessarily talking about sex would be looking at things like double entendres, right? And a double entendre is basically, a phrasing of a certain thing that it can be taken completely innocently, but it can also be taken very dirty. And it's up to the person who's reading it to interpret it one way or the other. And basically, it gives you like that that back door out, like that, like, hey, whoa, I didn't mean it like that. Like you took it there, right? And that's just a fun way to communicate in general, because it's just like it's like a form of teasing and banter, like, oh, your head's in the gutter. What? I didn't mean it like that, right? So like I'll give you a few examples. I'll give you a few examples of like things that you can do, in order to like build up that double entendres. So like a couple of good ones would be like, oh man, Adam uses this one all the time, and this is something that like I've stolen from him before. But basically, it's like, hey, would you rather do this, or would you rather do that? Just getting in the phrase of saying like, I'm easy either way. I'm easy either way, right? So, and that's just like a fun thing, like, oh, I'm easy either way. It could just mean like, oh, it doesn't really matter to me. But it could also be taken, if that other person wanted to, they could be like, oh yeah, you are. You're easy either way. And then you'd be like, oh, get out of here, with your little pervy brain. I didn't mean it like that, right? And so that's just like a fun thing that you can to throw in there. Or another one would be like, hey, I'm coming now, right? You could have said I'm on my way, but you're saying I'm coming now, right? And that's just a thing that they can be taken, whoa, wait, right now? Well, if you insist that right now is the best time, whatever, right? Like, so that's just like, you're just looking for phrasings of things that are definitely innocent, but that other person could, if they wanted to, take that to mean something else. And people do this on accident all the time. You're just going to be trying to like kind of, I don't know, maybe throw it in on purpose and see how they like that. So let's see. The next one next question that we have here is, let's see, what causes girls to friend zone guys? So this goes back to like that whenever you're like on a date, especially, right? What really causes, let me back up. There's a few things that you're looking for in any interaction. Number one, there's like a level of investment, right? Like you both, in order to initiate like a conversation or a form of like reaching out to somebody, you need some form of investment, right? And that's just going to be that initial like building up and starting that interaction. And the other person's has to give some too. So it's a little give, and you're both giving in a little bit for like that initial investment. But then the second thing that you're going to need is you're going to need to build comfort. You're going to need to build trust. And this is just a matter of like, hey, I'm not a psycho killer. I'm not like a creep, or I'm not a stalker. I'm not like any of those people. I'm just putting this out there. I want to build up this trust with you, right? So you need that a level of trust. But a lot of people, a lot of guys especially, they tend to just get stuck with those two things. Like, okay, I've invested, and now I'm just being a nice person. I'm just being a nice guy. I'm like just accepting in like this, showing like, hey, I'm not a serial killer. I'm a good person. And that's usually how they get stuck in the friend zone, because there's one more element that you need in order to build up like the really fun forms of relationships, and that's some level of tension. And that can be brought in by breaking rapport, which is something that we talk about in the ACE formula, or that can also be done in and just like building up like that sexual escalation, talking about those sexual things, building up that tension with just a pause, right? Like just a moment of like it builds up a lot of tension when you do that. Like there's like a whole lot of something right there of just like, hey, what is it? Like there's a question in the air in your pauses. So these are ways that you can like build up that tension to keep you out of the friend zone. So what causes get girls to friend zone guys? It's usually a matter of like not enough tension, that or not enough trust, right? It's much more rare that you're going to get somebody with just all tension and no trust, because usually that's kind of really freaky, and someone's going to run away the other direction. But if for some reason like that does connect, what you're going to have is, again, you're going to be like, oh man, this person, it does a certain thing, and that thing that they do is not really for me, but maybe it would help me, do, for something else, right? And so you're getting friend zoned for a purpose of some sort. So, maybe that could be like, maybe if you're like a recruiter for clubs or something, and so like you're just being overtly flirtatious to everybody. Some people would still want that connection because of just they're kind of using you for your connections. So that would be another way that you can get friend zone, even though you are building up a lot of that tension. So, those are the two ways that can go down. Lola J wants to know if I remember them. I don't remember a Lola J. I'm sorry, I do not. And I can't actually see, your photo or anything. So there's no way that I could remember that. I'm sorry. All right. So let's see. The next one is, next question we have is it possible taking things so is it possible that taking things too slowly is bad for dating? Oh, absolutely. 100%. And that's just a matter of like, if you're taking things too slow to the point that you're not having that tension like at all, again, it goes back to that's how you get friend zone. Or if you're just taking things too slowly, like that other person might be dating other people. They might be moving, a little faster with those other people. And then they might, turn like, hey, I found myself in a monogamous relationship with this other person, so I can't date you anymore. So yeah, taking things too slowly can definitely be really, really bad for dating. So I guess like what's the cure? Kind of just the things that we've been talking about, right? So, you could play the question game with them to kind of build up like that sexual energy, that sexual excitement back up. And another thing you want to be doing is you want to be making sure that they know that you're interested, and they know that you're interested in like actually dating them, or they know that you're interested in, if there is that sexual tension, they want to know that that's also mutual. That you feel the same way, and they're, typically, they're going to want to, get some sort of sense of that before that they'll say that it's coming from their end as well. So, so it is definitely possible to take things too slowly for dating. Let's see. After how many dates should a couple progress to sex? It's there. TV, like mainstream media, has like made it this thing where it's like, there's the 3-date rule. Like, you should always follow the 3-date rule. So if you are not, if you, have been on 3 dates with somebody, you should definitely have sex with them, because if you don't, then you're going to get friend zoned. That's not true. That's not true. I can say it's a matter of like the other person's, like, it's a matter of like both of your understanding and like where things are going, right? Because it could be 5 or 6 dates. Heck, you could have 5, like if you spent like a whole week with a person, right, and you had a date every single day, it could take date 7 by the time that you sleep with them. And that's definitely okay. Or maybe you just don't sleep together. Maybe your relationship is one where it's like, we don't really want to do that. Now I'm assuming that you definitely, if you're wanting to actually date them, that eventually you definitely do want to have sex with them. So if that's the case, and you're throwing that out there, like early on, they know that you're interested in that, and that's not what they're looking for. It's probably time that you start dating other people. Again, this person might be going so slow for you, like moving so slowly that it's probably not in your best interest to keep going, because that person's sex drive is probably much smaller than yours as well, and so you're actually not sexually compatible to begin with. So I'd recommend that that you kind of measure that out. Like, what are you comfortable with? If you're trying to, if you do want to have sex on the first date, there's like nothing that says you cannot do that, right? There is no rule that says that you can't have sex on the first date. You definitely can, if you're both feeling that, right? If that's something that you've built up that comfort, you've built up that tension, and you're both feeling that so intensely, and it's like, hey, you know what? No one's at my house right now, and in fact, I've got some alcoholic whipped cream that I threw together like this morning that I was really excited to try out. Maybe we can try it out together, right? Or something, something along those lines. That could be something that's like a lot of fun, just like a reason to go back to your house, and then one thing leads to another, right? So there's no rule about like, hey, you have to have this many dates with the person. It's all a matter of like, hey, we both are in a mutual understanding. We both want to have, want this to happen. Let's move forward. And so, yeah, I hope that kind of like tackles that one. Let's see. Next question we have is, how can you escalate on a date? I think we kind of talked about that with the question game, but yeah, I'll just go into it a little bit more with like physicality. In terms of like ways that you can like physically escalate on a first date. When you're just meeting somebody, like especially from like right now in like 2020, there's a lot of dating apps, right? There's a lot of dating app dating, and there's a level of distance that you have to obtain, have to have at first. You need that 6 foot in order to stay clear of the COVIDs, right? So yeah, if you're trying to so starting off with, you have like a certain amount of distance that's between you. Maybe with 2020, maybe that starts off, it's like video chat. Maybe you start off video chat, and then you move to meeting in person where you're 6 feet away or across the table from each other, talking over a coffee or something. And then maybe that turns into like, hey, actually, let's go and over there and sit on that couch, and we will partake in that like I go to this this coffee shop that has like these s'mores. Like they'll go and do like this like a little flame plate, and you can like make s'mores over there. It's like, let's go sit on the couch over there and like make s'mores with their little plate. And so now you've moved from sitting like across from each other with your masks on and stuff to sitting next to each other. And maybe after you've built up that amount of trust, where it's like, you don't have the COVIDs, I don't have the COVIDs. Let's go ahead and let's take the masks off so we can eat our s'mores. Sitting next to each other right here. And now you have that level of trust where you've moved from 6 feet away to right next to each other, right? And then that can definitely build up. Like maybe it's like, hey, I'm gonna let's go for a walk or something. And she's like, yeah, sure. You can put your hand out, and maybe they'll take your hands, and you go for a walk together, and at least help them up, right? Or if they don't take your hand, don't take offense to that, right? Like it's just a first date. They're still like trying to get to know you, and you're trying to measure out like what speed do they want to take things? What speed do you want to take things? They're measuring that out for you as well, right? So it's all a matter of pacing and making sure that But the general idea for escalating physically is just like changing that distance. It starts off pretty far, but then you maybe get closer. Then you get closer. Then maybe your legs are touching while you're sitting next to each other. Maybe your legs are touching when you're standing up somewhere. Like maybe I don't know. Maybe you went to go grab drinks or something at a bar, or like a cafe or something, and you're both like up at the countertop together. Maybe you like touch legs together, right? And that's okay. Or maybe you can like hip bump each other, right, as you're walking, or put your arm out and have them take your arm. It's just a matter of like getting closer and closer as the date progresses, and that's like a really smooth way to build up that that sexual tension on a first date. Carlos asks, do you ever get scared to physically? How do you get over being scared to physically escalate? I mean, it's like I said. It's physically escalating could just be just sitting next to each other or moving away. One of the best ways of like, moving from, if you're really far apart to like getting closer and closer and closer, I'll just give you like a strategy that you can, try out, Carlos, and this should make things a little bit easier, is whenever you're like, I think I want to move things, a little bit closer. The best way of doing that is just actually changing locations. So you both like go, it's like, hey, I know we're sitting down right over here right now, but let's go step outside, get some air. Right, so now you move to get some air, and now you can be a little bit closer because now you're standing instead of sitting, so you can stand next to each other instead of be sitting instead of sitting like across from each other. Or maybe when you go to sit back down after you've been outside, now you can sit closer to each other. So just changing that location together really helps to kind of like liquefy the situation, so it's smoother when you do get closer. All right, so we're running out of time here, so I definitely want to go ahead and I think I've gotten through most of the questions. I definitely haven't gotten through all of them, but again, if there's anything that's like, like this kind of stuff is super interesting to me, like I really want to dive deeper, go and check out. We've got a free guide up right now at aceformula.com. You can get like the free ACE formula guide. And yeah, that should tackle a lot of the topics that we've discussed either right here, or a lot of stuff that I definitely didn't talk about, or didn't get a chance to answer. And so, yeah, you can find that at aceformula.com. That's ACE formula, FORMULA.com. And you can go ahead and get that free guide there. And yeah, I will catch you guys next week. All right, take care.